You're listening to Pop Culture Weekly with Kyle McMahon, presented by 92.9 Tom FM, an iHeart radio station.
Hello and welcome to Pop Culture Weekly. It's episode 23. Woo! I can't believe it. Every week is just this time is going by way too quickly for me. In any event, I'm Kyle McMahon, as you may or may not know. Hopefully you know by now. It's episode 23. If not, hi. If you don't know me, I'm Kyle. So anyway, Pop Culture Weekly is proudly brought to you by 92.9 Tom FM and iHeart Radio. Could not do this without them. In any event, I have an all-interview special episode today. It's a little different than our normal show with our different segments and our guest hosts and all of that. I have so many interviews that I want to share this week that there's no time for anything else. I talked to Tom Cronin, who has a film called The Portal that's coming out, and I got to see a preview screen of it. It is unbelievably, life-changingly amazing. It asks the question, what would happen if 7 billion people, all the people in the world, started meditating? And let me tell you, the results are crazy. It is an extremely thought-provoking, powerful documentary, and you must see it. So I talk with him, and he also has a book called The Portal that's also coming out that is, an accompaniment, you know what I'm trying to say. It goes along with the film. It's awesome. I'm telling you guys, wow, this is powerful stuff. And I have a great conversation with him. So that's coming up. I also talked to Christopher Jackson, who you may know from Hamilton, you may know from the Billboard charts, or you may know him from Bull on TV. And he also was in a Netflix film directed by Ava DuVernay, and she's incredible. And that's called When They See Us. And it has to do with the Central Park 5. It is powerful, required watching. You guys have got to see this movie. It is really, really powerful. Also, I happen to be in a movie with Ava DuVernay that she directed called Selma. It's just a little tiny part, but I was in a movie. It's crazy. Only movie I've ever been in, but and I loved it. She is amazing. She is a genius. She treats everybody with complete and total respect. She treated me like a star, and I was, in reality, a tiny, tiny, tiny ant in this whole thing. So she's just incredible. You have to see this movie. So I talked to Christopher Jackson backstage at PBS's National Memorial Day concert, which, I cover. And I got to talk to him about that, and I also talked to him about When They See Us and his career. So this is another interview you don't want to miss. I also talked to Ashlee Keating, who is enjoying her first taste of Billboard success with her new dance hit. So I've got that interview for you, too. So it's an all-interview episode. Yay! No Benny, no Krista, no Courtney, no Kat, no of, the usual suspects. It's all me and all interviews. What else could you ask for, except for those people? But anyway, let's start with Tom Cronin and my discussion with him on The Portal. So, first of all, Tom Cronin, thank you so much for talking to me. I really do appreciate it. I'm excited to talk to you.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me along.
Of course. So, a little bit about your background before we get into The Portal, which I'm really excited to talk to you about. What is your background? Where did you come from before you went on to do The Portal?
I think the best way to describe it is to invite the audience, if they've ever seen or read about Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort, they'll get a little bit of a glimpse into what my life was like. Not as severe and as extreme as that, but certainly it came from that sort of background. I started my career in the same year as him, 1987. I was a young kid just straight out of school, backpacked around the world, blew most of my money traveling, and decided to just apply for a bunch of jobs and landed this one on a big trading room floor in the late 80s, which was when the markets were going crazy. And before long, I was swept into the world of finance and fast trading markets and lots of money. And, it was really interesting. Prior to that, just a very little glimpse. I was backpacking around the world, reading books by Jean-Paul Sartre and listening to Susie and the Banshees and the Smiths, and really looking to, write articles about existentialism and capitalistic greed and how I wanted to save the world from the plight that was going on. And before long, I was part of the thing that I was wanting to save the world from. And, I got swept along into that world for quite a long time. And that led to, a lot of drugs and alcohol and being a bit of quite a playboy and really just going off the rails. And the universe gave me a lot of messages that I wasn't doing the right thing. I started getting a lot of insomnia and anxiety and panic attacks and eventually depression. And then I eventually had a full-blown nervous breakdown at the age of 29, where I just basically had to leave my job. I became incapacitated. I had agoraphobia, couldn't leave my house, was seeing psychiatrists, put on pharmaceutical drugs. So, this whole trajectory of the path I was on was leading me to a sort of a train wreck of an experience.
Right.
And that's when I found meditation and Eastern philosophy. And it was like a massive turning point. It was phenomenal how much I discovered that what I was looking for in a sex, drugs, alcohol, the party scene was actually what I was looking for ultimately inside myself, but I didn't know how to get there. And meditation was kind of like the portal that allowed me to find that way home to the thing that I was ultimately looking for, which is my inner world.
Right.
And of course, I didn't become perfect. I still, it's not like all of a sudden, instantaneously overnight, you become an enlightened monk. It's still a process of transformation and evolution, but it definitely was a turning point in my life that took me on a different path.
Wow. And then what then led you to creating or even the idea for the portal?
Well, what I tend to find, particularly with my clients, is that that I coach, is that we have this trajectory on our path, which is we go from seeker, I'm in a dark space and I'm looking for the light. What we do when we walk into a dark room is we clamor around for that light switch.
Mm-hmm.
It's always the first thing we do when we're in darkness is look for the light. And I was in darkness looking for light. So I was a seeker. But what happens as we seek is eventually, as you clamor around long enough, you'll eventually find the light switch and turn it on. So eventually I found light within myself, not in the outer world. It was in myself. And as we go from seeker, we eventually become a finder. And then the natural progression after you find that light is like, wow, I've got so much of this. It's like I'm overflowing, like wisdom, knowledge, love, light. I kind of got to, by default, you start sharing it in places that aren't relevant, like with your colleagues and with your family and with your friends. And like, yeah, I heard it all before, Tom, just stop talking about stuff. To finding more appropriate avenues to start to share it with and creating what I call vehicles or vessels to deliver that knowledge or wisdom or love or light, whatever you're sharing with the world through. You're sharing it through a podcast. So you created that vessel yourself. We can't wait for other people to create the vessel. We have to create it ourselves. And then hopefully people will come, and that's the conduit or another portal that people can access you through. So I started teaching meditation part-time while I was a broker, of all things. I'd finish trading on the floor at 5 and go down to a studio I was subleasing in the city and start teaching meditation at 5:30, 6 o'clock. Wow. Then eventually it just became this overwhelming compulsion. I could see this incredible change. It was happening not just in my life, but in other people's lives. So I started to create online programs and teach workshops and run retreats. And I thought, wow, like one of the best and biggest mediums for sharing the power of this technique. I was like, why is the world not doing this?
Mm-hmm.
It's so powerful. Like, we know enlightenment exists and it's so phenomenal, even just a glimpse into that world. We need to let the world know that this is available to them. And so I decided 7 years ago, let's make a feature documentary about meditation and how powerful it is in changing people's lives. And I never expected it to take me down the path that it's taken me on, but it's quite a wild ride, but we're getting there. We're about to bring it out to the world.
Yes, I'm very excited. I did see the film. I absolutely love it.
Oh, man, thanks.
And I love that you asked the question, what would happen if 7 billion people meditated? Why did that come to you? Because it's changed your life so much?
Yeah, it was phenomenal. I just know that all of my dilemmas that I was experiencing were a state of mind. And it really is the starting point for life's problems. And we can't really solve the problem with the same level of thinking that created, as Einstein said. So we really need to change the way we think. And to change the way we think, we need to get out of the program. There's a program that our mind operates on. It's like a software that's constantly needing updating, but most of us don't update it. And I was in a state, and meditation helps you update that software because you transcend the program and access a field of intelligence that's enabling you to actually observe the thinking process. So I knew that if we wanted to change the world, we really needed to change the way we thought. And most of us have been living by a paradigm that's been programmed into us by generations and generations. And what I see is this kind of recurring loop. And under the laws of evolution, if we stay static, we're going to invite a destructive operator Shiva, which is a force that's going to enact change if we resist change. And that's why we have turbulence, is because of the process of resisting evolution, resisting change. And that's what I was doing, and that's why I had turbulence. So when we become much more creative and adaptable and evolutionary in the way we think and behave, then we avoid a lot of that conflict and friction that happens in our lives. So meditation really had to be me, like the tool that I was trained in, and the tool that I've used as my device for evolution and growth. There's a lot of other tools. I do yoga, I go to the gym, and I eat healthy, but that was the main one that helped me get out of the programming software. And so I really felt inspired that if I could do that, and that to me, and it does that to other people, then what would happen on the planet if we got a lot more people meditating? Would we still have the levels of conflict and turmoil that we have happening in our world? So that was really the inspiration for me to do everything I could to inspire people to meditate. And I thought a film was a great way to do that.
Absolutely. Do you think we're finally at a point as a people, as a culture, that we're willing to listen to something like this?
I think we're on an incredibly exciting point in our history as a human species. We're getting to a fork in the road, and that fork in the road is what we call in Sanskrit a rashi. It's a point of choicelessness where you either break through or break down. It's like, okay, guys, you've been doing this for a long time. You've been in this acquisition and experience mode of fulfillment for a long, long time. It's the cause of most of your problems. If I get more oil, if I get more money, if I get more sex, if I get more drugs, if I get more houses, if I get rid of that person's religion, if I get rid of those outer world things or get those outer world things, then my life internally is going to be better. That model is not sustainable, and it's actually the antithesis of what an enlightened experience would be. And enlightenment has been around for a long, long time, like 5,000-10,000 years. So it's time we embrace what's available to us and we start to break through to a new status quo. And it's really exciting because the world is kind of polarized at the moment, but that's part of the journey that we're at. Is like there's a transitional point happening. That's where I was polarized.
Right.
It's sometimes we just have to exhaust our research into where fulfillment doesn't exist before we find where fulfillment does exist. It's like, you know what? I've looked everywhere. I looked in the shopping malls. I looked in my bank account. I looked in Tinder, and you know what? I just can't find it.
Right.
And so that's where the world's getting to. We've accumulated and experienced so much, yet we have such incredible levels of anxiety and depression and discontent and dis-ease. And that's really just evolution, this beautiful guiding parental force that's saying, hey, look, I'm trying to support you. There is a path for you. You just don't seem to be getting it. So I just need to turn up that volume of discomfort so that you might eventually change the direction that you're going in.
And from your film, you also have an accompanying book. How did that develop?
Well, I was, again, through meditation, the film was a series of beautiful stories, 6 powerful stories that have all gone through crisis and come through crisis, through the portal, using meditation and out the other side where they were free of that crisis. And there was 3 amazing futurists and philosophers in that film as well that kind of support a sort of global macro perspective that ties those stories together. It's kind of like the glue. And I was in meditation, and it dawned on me that there's such powerful content in those interviews, literally hours and hours of interviews that had such profound wisdom and stories, beautiful, rich stories. And everyone loves a good story of transformation. It's what the most films are built on, the idea of crisis and transformation and the victor. And so we decided that we would compile those stories and the wisdom into a book. And it's just been a really amazing work of art. I've actually got a copy here. So I'm really excited to bring it out to the world. It's really, the film is, only so many words in a film, because, you've got a lot of imagery and music, and it's only 90 minutes, whereas the book goes much deeper and the stories are much richer. So it really allows the audience to go much further into the beauty of it all.
I love that. So The Portal is coming out. What's next after that? What is your next step?
Film is being released in September in the US, I'd imagine, and looks like October in Australia. So then the film and the book will be out. We've got master classes. We're looking at apps. We want to do school programs. We really want to go a long way down that journey using these devices, the film and the book, as inspiration for the world to start to learn to meditate. My main thing that I love to do, and what I want to get back to after this project, is get back to running retreats, taking people through powerful transformational experiences, coaching, running weekend workshops, and doing a lot of speaking. These are sort of the spaces that I feel most effective and most qualified in. So once the filmmaking process is complete, then I'll return back to a lot of that.
That's awesome. Tom Cronin, thank you so much. And where can they find you?
Yeah, there's a couple ways to find us. They can go to entertheportal.com for the film and book, and they can go to stillnessproject.com, which is my original foundation that I created to bring meditation out to the world. And they can just go to tomcronin.com or Tom Cronin at Instagram and get me there.
Awesome. Tom, thank you so much for talking with me, and please come back. I'd love to speak with you again.
Love to. Be great. Thanks for coming. Great questions too.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Tom. So that was my conversation with Tom Cronin. Isn't he amazing? You guys have got to see this movie and get the book, The Portal. It goes more in depth on the themes and stories told in the movie. You are going to love it. It really is a game changer. It's a life changer. So up next, I have Hamilton star Christopher Jackson. Woo! So, Christopher, well, I'm going to let the interview speak for itself. You're going to love this one. I love your entire body of work, and I got to ask you, though, there's not many people that can say that they performed on a track with the President Barack Obama. Yeah, what was that like for you?
It was crazy. It was obviously a song that I'd sung, quite a few times.
Right.
So it was refreshing to, see it in a different way, a different light. And then when you add 44 into the mix, it guarantees to be a neat experience.
Yeah,
and it was that.
And it was. I think I read it was the only chart hit featuring a president ever in history.
How about that? I like being the backup singer to that one.
Absolutely. So you are here once again for the PBS, the 30th anniversary of the National Memorial Day concert. What does that mean to you?
Anytime I've had the opportunity to stand on the stage and just pay tribute to the men and women who do so much for us, it's kind of the easiest yes that anyone will ever get from me. We often, look, I sing and dance and act for a living, right? But there are jobs out there that are way more important than that. And if what I do can be of service to those men and women who do that, well, then I think there's no higher calling for me, and there's no instance in which I feel as someone who is just contributing something a little bit that's more meaningful than what I normally get to do.
Right. And so back for career-wise, you're doing a project, or you've just finished a project with Ava DuVernay, right?
How about it? When They See Us.
Yes, I'm really excited for that, and I had a tiny part in Selma with which she directed, and she treated every single person she is such an incredible woman, and I wanted to know what your take is on that, working with her, especially on a project like this, which is, in my opinion, a very important project.
Josh Jackson, who is also starring in the movie, he said it best recently. He said, she creates an environment of love and has a very high expectation. She sets the table for you to enjoy where you are, and when everyone feels valued, they feel invested in a very personal and different kind of way. Mm-hmm. And then she expects that you would do your best, and that's exactly what that project was. It's moving. It is stark. It is hard to watch at certain moments, but it's absolutely important that this story is being told at this time, at this moment in time where we are.
Yeah, and I love that she is such a risk taker. She's not afraid to do pieces like that, which is not only important for art but for culture.
I think if you look at things through a cultural lens, you can sometimes miss the significance of it, quite literally. I think that it can be reductive sometimes to see it just as, this is a hot new thing that's happening. This story is 30 years old. It is truly a dark moment in our society as a whole. We saw 6 victims, at an inflection point in their lives. None of them will ever be the same. The 5 young men and the young woman who was attacked in the park, and her life was altered forever. I think that we can get lost in the sensationalism of those things and absolutely forget that there are real living and breathing people who are loving and living and suffering through these moments. To be able to tell that story with an artist like Ava, it is the epitome of importance. It is serious work, and it's treated, I think, with the utmost care. And I think that it'll reflect it when the audiences get a chance to see it.
Awesome. I can't wait to see it. And just one last question. Doing work like this, because, I just got to thinking now that you've done Hamilton, which is very similar in the fact that it's not just entertainment, it's art, and it's, more importantly, it's been a culture, conversation starter for conversations that need to happen. Hamilton was very much, think of all of the people that would have never gone and seen a Broadway play, had it not been spun in the way that it was spun. You were a hugely successful part of that. And then the same thing with this. Are you choosing roles like that on purpose, or is it, just kind of the universe that it's kind of happened that way?
I wish to God that I could say that I, just sort of sit in my office at home and say, I'm going to do this part, not this one. And do that. It doesn't work out that way. I think I'm a living witness to the fact that you put good out in the world, good comes back to you. I believe that my path has been divinely ordered, and I have had the benefit of working with some of the most tremendous artists of our generation. And I don't say no when they come a-calling. I'm willing. My aim in this world, in my life and in my career, is to be useful, is to be of use, is to be of service. And, whether it be Lynn and Tommy Kail or Ava or pick anyone that I've had a chance to work with, it's always refreshing to know that I'm doing things that have that are of substance, right? That are meant to say something, that are meant to start a conversation, that are meant to reflect us. I think that that's the part to me that is where I just sort of throw my hands up and say, thank you, God, for entrusting me with these moments. Mm-hmm. And I think it's also a testament to just knowing how to work with people. More than the product, the finished product. It's about being in the room for the artists, right? It's about the hang. It's about the collaboration and the spontaneity and the trust that happens, and the ability to just be as raw and as available to the material as you possibly can be. And I feel that way when I'm performing on this stage or in front of the camera, hopefully behind the camera soon. My aim is to just continue to tell stories, continue to celebrate the humanity in all of us and what we go through.
I love that, man. That is so inspirational. Thank you so much for talking to me, man. Isn't Christopher Jackson incredible? Not only is he an incredible person, but he had just flown in to D.C. from the night before from his daughter's recital. What an amazing guy. He's like a multi-hyphenate, incredible singer, incredible actor. You know, the guy is awesome. I love that man. So, and you've got to see the movie When They See Us. It's Ava DuVernay. I mean, she's not afraid to start conversations that are uncomfortable for some people, but they need to be had. She's an incredible artist. So, go see on Netflix When They See Us. You will not regret it. And then let me know what you think about it at Pop Culture Pod CA or my own Twitter at KMacMusic. All right. Next up, I interview with Ashlee Keating. Ashlee is an artist who she is a singer and actress and songwriter. She like does pop, dance. I mean, she's got it all. And she just enjoyed her first taste of chart success on Billboard. Huge. Big ups for that. That is quite an achievement. So we're going to talk about that. And, well, here, just enjoy the interview. All right. And now I have Ashlee Keating. Ashlee, how are you?
Hi. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. So tell me about how you got into music.
I mean, music has always been in my blood, you know? Like, I feel like that's my purpose in life, you know, is using my gifts with, inspiring through my lyrics and my music. And it's always just, I mean, it's in my blood. It's what I want to do for the rest of my life, you know, as well as many other things. But I started singing and probably annoying my family when I was 3 years old. I've had a very successful, long career, and I'm excited to see where everything goes now. But yeah, when I was 3, I was on a showcase actually in Philadelphia.
Oh, nice.
It's called Al Albert's TV Showcase.
Oh,
And
I remember that. I remember that when I was a kid, that show.
Yeah. So that's how my whole career started. Like, I literally was on that show at 3 years old. Don't know how I did it. Just got up on TV, said a joke and sang a song every single week. Yeah, that was really the start. And then I was on Broadway when I was 5, turning 6. I was in Sound of Music with Richard Chamberlain. So that's when I got, the performing bug of, I love being on stage and I love, doing acting and singing and just performing. And I was so young. And then I did the national tour of Sound of Music as well.
How was that for you at, a young age to be touring like that with the Sound of Music?
Oh, it was the best. I mean, that's why I was probably, 6 years old. Like, someday I'm going to go on another national tour, which will be for my pop music, right? But I'm 6 years old and I already knew exactly what I wanted in life. Like, it was in my blood. You know what I mean? I was born to do what I'm doing right now, born to perform. And I mean, it was really cool. Like, I just loved traveling. I loved the experience of, being with the cast, working with other people. And, I just loved performing every single day. And getting on stage. I mean, and I won't ever forget it. And it's funny because I'll visit certain places, if I'm doing something with music or whatever. And I'll be like, I was actually just recently in Chicago and I'm like, wait, I think this was the theater I performed in. And because we drove by and I'm like, how do I even remember that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's little bits and pieces. I was super young, but I'll never, forget that. And I'll never forget the theater, Martin Beck Theater in New York City, that I played Gretel on Broadway. You know?
Which is incredible.
So I loved the experience of Broadway. I still love Broadway. I love going to see Broadway shows. You never know. Someday, maybe I'll do a little something again on Broadway. But, my pop music is my thing right now. But I loved it. It was just such an incredible experience. What
led from that into you then, songwriting and recording a record?
Right. Yeah. So, I did like acting gigs. I did a bunch of that stuff too, which I love. And so the real start was when I was 10 years old. In 2004, I auditioned for CBS Star Search. And I went to the open call, and I kept getting callbacks. And then, you know, I ended up getting on the TV show, which was absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
It was a crazy experience that I'll never forget this experience either. My first time in Los Angeles, they flew me out. You know, I had to compete to get on the show, and then I got on the show. I ended up winning winning and then losing by 1 point in the final. But yeah, I mean, that was the first real experience I had. I started, you know, in the recording studio doing like cover songs, you know, obviously for Star Search, we had to do some of that. And I feel like the minute I stepped in a recording studio, I was like, I want to do this the rest of my life. Like, there was something weird about being in that atmosphere and being in the recording studio that I loved, and I picked things up so quickly. And so that's kind of when it all started, when I was on Star Search. And then about 4 years later, about 4 years later is when I recorded my first like EP. And I had done another little competition, and a producer discovered me, and I started, you know, recording real like original pop songs. And that's when I was on Radio Disney, and they're the ones that really started my whole career as a pop recording artist.
I was going to say,
I'm so grateful for that.
They put a lot of support behind you, and you were like with the 52, what's it, the 52 songs of the season or whatever. Like, I mean, they put a lot of
Happiness, with Coca-Cola. Yeah.
Coca-Cola, yeah. Did that come from Disney?
So no, actually, this is what's crazy. So, so I was part of the incubator program, and that led for me opening up for a bunch of people, that really started my career. But with the Coca-Cola campaign, it's really crazy. It was a competition. They picked 52 emerging artists from around the world. You know, I think most of them, I don't think any of them were signed, and including myself. And so I had some, you know, songwriter friends and a producer friend, and I was like, hey, you know, we were like, you know, let's get together, and we were all in town, and we heard about it, and it was a competition. You had to write about a favorite place, you know, that you love to visit and, you know, hang out at and do something, but it couldn't be anything that was like, you know, it had to be something different.
Right.
So it was kind of hard to like put our minds together. It couldn't be like an amusement park or a beach or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I was with some co-writers, and I was like, well, why don't we write about, you know, my hometown? Like, why don't we write about, you know, New Jersey and the East Coast and you know, Christmas and snow and ice, because I love skiing and I love that, you know, I love the holidays. And it came together so well. We wrote a song called Ice Kingdom. And also I had just recently visited the Queen Mary, which they turned that into a whole ice kingdom.
Oh, nice.
So it made me think about all these different things, but really, you know, it's about the snow and the ice and on the East Coast, and we called it Ice Kingdom. And we created like a holiday song, and it ended up being perfect because we weren't even thinking, you know, like Coca-Cola, like the polar bear and that whole vibe. Right?
Oh, yeah.
We weren't even thinking that in the moment. I was just literally like, I want to write it about home and snow and ice.
Right.
And skiing and all that kind of stuff. And so it turned into this amazing song, holiday song that everyone loves and, you know, brings joy to people, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And, you know, I really love writing songs that bring joy to people. And so Radio Disney, you know, has supported me, and they loved the whole, you know, message behind the song and everything, and, you know, and they played it during the holidays, you know, and I think they still, you know, obviously still play it, and it hit the charts on Radio Disney for the holiday charts. And that was a big, you know, another big step.
Absolutely.
In my career. And it just kind of worked out. It was just, there really wasn't any planning with it. It just kind of all happened. And the fact that, you know, I hope to work with them again, Coca-Cola. They're such a great company, and it was just a really exciting moment and really random.
As some of the best things end up being, you know.
Yeah.
So then you got hooked up with people like Sean Douglas, who I love him as a songwriter. Yeah. So how did that happen? Yeah,
he is so incredible. I actually really want to get back in the studio with him. That just kind of happened through, mutual people that I know in the industry, and it's a very small circle.
Mm-hmm.
And we linked up, and he had this record called Red Eye, and I actually did not write on this record, but he was like, "Hey, I think this will fit you, really well." And this is kind of before I even started changing my style even a little bit more. I'm always, changing it up and still keeping it me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But so yeah, Red Eye, and I was like, wow, this is such a beautiful record. And I told Sean, I was like, I really want to show my voice on a new record. I'm always doing up-tempo, vibes. And he was like, I have this record that I just wrote, would you be interested in cutting it? And that's kind of how it all started. And I worked with him, at his studio, and he's such a great guy, such good vibes. And yeah, that's really, how it came about.
Awesome.
And then actually it ended up being in a movie that I was in as well, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, that is awesome. And tell us a little bit about the movie.
So at that time, I had just worked on Red Eye, and it has more of like it's a ballad, emotional ballad, and it was kind of funny. Like the director it was an independent film that I worked on called The Mint, and I like to call it, it's got music, it's got the storyline behind it, but it's funny because I feel like it's got hip hop music and then it also has country music. Now, obviously, I'm a pop artist, but I feel like in the way the music is today, that everything kind of is merging together, which I really love.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a pop artist, you can still work on a country record, or a hip hop record, or a rock record. You know what I mean? They're all kind of together now. So, and I like to be very versatile the way that I am with my music. But so Red Eye has a different vibe from what I've been releasing. And this movie that I was in, I played a leading role called as Samantha. And she was actually a country artist. And she kind of goes, a little bit pop, but she's from Tennessee. She, wants to become, a star. And then they basically, in the movie discover me. It's kind of got like Empire and Nashville vibes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Put together. And Red Eye, they had come to me and they're like, oh, you'd be great for this role. And I read the script and I loved it. And, I wanted to, embark on something more. Like, this is the first movie I had ever done with playing a leading role. And I obviously hope to do more in the future and keep diversifying, everything that I'm doing.
For sure.
But, yeah, so it just, it kind of came to me. And then, I talked to the director. He's great. And, read the script. And basically that's how it happened. And Red Eye, they had heard my song Red Eye, and they're like, this would fit really well into the script of the movie at the end of the movie and kind of be like the theme of the soundtrack and the theme of the movie. So that just, again, something else that randomly kind of came together, and I had just recorded Red Eye, and yeah, it was really fun working on that film.
And then you enjoyed your first taste of Billboard chart success with Hurt Me So Good. Tell me about that.
Yeah, that was definitely a huge moment in my career.
Oh, yeah.
I would say probably, like, it's extremely exciting. And it's funny because it didn't even fully hit me, like, as it was happening. I'm like, and that tends to happen to me because I'm very, like, I'm always, wanting to do more, wanting to work harder, and just, I'm that type of person. So I was excited, but also like, wait, what is happening right now? You know what I mean? It didn't even fully set in my mind.
Right.
Because this record really hit hard. This record really resonated with people, which is very, it meant the world to me. Like, my fans would be sending me videos of dancing to it and singing to it. And then I heard my song in the club for literally, this is the first time, like, obviously I had done some performances in clubs, but just hearing it, like, I think it was twice, maybe randomly in clubs, and
That's
people would send
awesome.
me videos of hearing it in clubs. And I literally cried a few times because it is the most incredible feeling. I've always dreamt of being able to like have that experience where it's just being played, and it's like, wait, what? People actually know my song. People are actually sending me, they know the lyrics. They're sending me videos. I mean, and I really saw the impact when I was performing. People would recite the lyrics, and this song is really funny how it came about. I worked with a producer that signed to Timbaland, and it was funny because we were supposed to be working on some other records together, and I had just written this record a cappella on my couch.
Oh, wow.
Without a beat. Yeah, it was crazy. And I had this concept in my head for a minute, and I was like, sometimes if I don't have a beat to write to, I'll just write to it a cappella, like, because I have the melody and lyric in my head, and I'm like, I got to get it out.
Right.
And this was the first real song that I wrote by myself. This is really when I started as a songwriter, like, and really showing the world who I am as a songwriter. And I got with my producer Doug on the phone, and I was like, I was like, hey, I have this. Like, do you want me to send it to you? And I was like, this is what I'm thinking for, the beat, the vibe of the beat. And he put a track together, and it just kind of came alive. And I didn't even expect that it was going to be my single, or my main lead single that was going to bring everything to where it is now. And it ended up being that. And the impact has been absolutely crazy. And Billboard, this is my first time on Billboard, and I'm just so grateful for everyone that's, been supporting me. That's 418 had released the remixes, and I'm grateful to them as well, and just like everyone that has just been supporting it. It really has been so exciting, and I'm excited for what's happening now.
Absolutely. And so now what's next for you? What can we expect next? What are you working on? What can you give us the goods on?
So right now, I just released a new single. It's called Bad Mistake.
Love it.
And that has been doing absolutely incredible as well. I just released it on May 17th, which was like about 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And it's already like surpassed 70,000 streams on Spotify.
Wow.
And this one's doing even better than Hurt Me So Good, which is crazy.
Right.
And it's funny, I just want to keep, writing, creating new music. And this is really crazy too. So another funny story, I was actually at home in South Jersey, and a producer friend of mine, Mr. Mig, he's also from Jersey, and our vibes are like so crazy together because we're two Jersey people, and it's so funny. And I was like, hey, I'm in Jersey. Like, you want to get in the studio? Like, well, we had been talking about getting in the studio, and this is around Thanksgiving time, and I had so much I wanted to like write about. And, we got in, it was a great vibe. And I was like, hey, I have this idea for this track. Like, and we kind of I kind of co-produced it, like worked on the track with him. And, while we were doing it, I was like, I want this sound. And then he would play something. And then it just came to life, creating the beat. And then he was like, so I started coming up with some melody, and it was the chorus melody of Bad Mistake with a little bit of the lyrics. And he's like, oh, that's really cool. It's really cool. And then I actually wrote this whole song in my bedroom where I grew up in South Jersey.
Wow.
And I came back to the studio the next day. He's like, all right, come back tomorrow, write what you want, whatever. And I wrote the whole song, came back to the studio, cut it, recorded it. And it turned, again, another song I wasn't even really sure what was going to happen, but it just ended up being my next single. And it's super exciting. I wanted to get right. I was inspired, and I'm really excited that people have been loving it and people have been relating to it. And so that just came out. It's been doing amazing. And, we're going to get some remixes for it as well. So stay tuned for that. And hopefully, I've been thinking about, video situations
yeah,
as well for the song. and just lots of planning and stuff going on right now. And I really, really hope that I'm going to keep performing. I have something I'll be doing this weekend coming up. And then I just performed at the White Party
Awesome.
in Palm Springs, which was absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
Oh my
I bet.
gosh, that was probably one of my favorite performances so far. I had so much fun, and it was a big deal. And so, yeah, I'm really just excited. I want to get out, touring, performing more, meeting my fans more, and just keep releasing more music. And there's just lots of exciting things to come, and I can't wait.
Awesome. Well, Ashlee Keating, Bad Mistake is out right now. Where can they follow you?
All my socials. But definitely my Instagram is the perfect way to literally know everything about my life. I'm just kidding. No. But yeah, pretty much get a taste of Ashlee, which is at ASHLEEKEATING. So just at Ashlee Keating. And, my YouTube is where all my videos are, youtube.com/Ashlee Keating, Facebook, Twitter, just Ashlee Keating, and Facebook's Ashlee Keating Music, and then Twitter's Ashlee Keating, and AshleeKeating.com.
Awesome.
And Spotify, of course.
Of course.
Apple and all that good stuff.
Yes, and iHeartRadio app.
Yeah. Yes, I love iHeartRadio. I literally listen to it every day.
So we'll have all those links up there so everybody can follow you wherever they choose on their favorite platform, or hopefully all of them. And please come back and talk to us again.
Yeah, I would love that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ashlee. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, that's Ashlee Keating. She is a joy, isn't she? She's just like a fun ball of energy. She's a songwriter, singer, actress, and we'll have all of her links in the show notes and on the accompanying blog post page. Did I do it right? Accompanying, yes. So, and we'll have everybody's links on the accompanying. I'm so proud of myself for being able to say that now. Accompanying blog post page and show notes. So, you know where to get that. Thank you for listening to episode 23 of Pop Culture Weekly. I cannot believe it. You guys are amazing. You make this show grow every single week. Seriously, you make it grow every week. And you're sharing it, and you're commenting, and you're reviewing it, and you're rating it, and you're giving it stars, and you're tweeting, and you guys are awesome. I want to hear more from you. Please continue to tweet me at KMacMusic, or Instagram at KMacMusic, or Facebook at Real Kyle McMahon. Pop Culture Weekly is on Twitter and Facebook. On Twitter, Pop Culture Pod CA, and on Facebook, Pop Culture Weekly. So, love you guys. See you next week.
You're listening to Pop Culture Weekly with Kyle McMahon, presented by 92.9 Tom FM, an iHeart radio station.
It feels weird to do it by myself. I'm always used to doing it with somebody else.